So today we have a pretty straightforward review. We have Adams. Now these are really not found here in the US, at least not common, but they're a Japanese glove company and you can get them in the US. It's Davis Relacing. I'm gonna like put his, Instagram stuff in the bio, but he's sort of their US agent. So just so you know, if you wanted one, you'd go through him. Not like sponsored or anything, it's just the fact. By far the most noticeable thing about these gloves is that they're ridiculously light. Now this yellow one, it is really small, so yeah, it's gonna be light. But even this one, it's just ridiculous. So we're gonna weigh them out because I just wanna know. To start, this is an 11.5 inch Pro 200. We're gonna just see how much this weighs. Okay, 1 pound, 5, almost 6 ounces. Just so you have an idea, here's a size comparison. The Adams looks bigger, so let's see where it's at. Okay, that is a very, very big difference. Wow, was that 3 full ounces? That's a huge difference. I unboxed this thing and the first thing out of my mouth was like, this is so light. Oh my goodness. Okay, huge takeaway. These are ridiculously light, like to the point where it actually does make a difference. If it's a little bit lighter, sure, whatever. That's a big difference. This is also somewhat of a prototype. It doesn't actually say what size it is. It feels like it's 11.5 inches. There's a small chance it's 11.75, but I'm pretty positive we're looking at 11.5. And then our yellow one should just be an 11-inch glove. This thing is tiny. Normal Adams gloves will be marked. These are sort of like prototypes from my understanding. So like if you went through and ordered one, it'll look a little bit different in the palm. It'll have all the normal markings. Let's go take ground balls and I'm gonna tell you guys what to expect from one of these. One big takeaway with this glove has been just that the break-in was actually fairly easy, but with that being said, it feels like it's gonna take a really, really long time for it to be like fully broken in. I can feel ground balls with it and everything. It's got a really quick and easy close, but this leather is a lot different than the leather you see on like Heart of the Hides, A2000. It's just a completely different thing. So honestly, the break-in was pretty easy, but I think it has a lot to do with how the glove is just constructed. So like, I can move the thumb and the pinky both very easily, but the glove is still very sturdy. So our break-in points feel like they're gonna get really, really loose over time, while the rest of the glove still stays stiff. That honestly gives it a little bit more of that Japanese feel. The shape itself feels really standard, like it's nothing you wouldn't be used to here in the US. But the leather, like I said, is far different. It's thin and hard. Rawlings and Wilson make extremely comfortable gloves, and that's less noticeable here, but the quality is 100% there. So far, I'm a really big fan of like the build of the glove. It's built to be very open, very wide, and I'm a big fan of that. Also, take a look. I don't know what you would call that. It basically makes the break-in a little bit easier. When the laces are going up and down like this, it's less restricting and whatnot. I need to take a couple off the web. Yeah, so one thing I am noticing, the leather is having a little bit more stretch than I was actually expecting. You can just really tell how loose it is when it hits the top of the web there. I think that has to do with the fact that it's laced up pretty loosely in general. So if you tightened it all up, I don't think that would be a problem. But right now I had like one, it was a slow roller. I came in like this and it actually like sprung off. I wasn't expecting it at all. It kind of just shot away. One thing I should definitely mention is just that the construction on this glove is absolutely beautiful. Big fan of some of the small details, like on the pinky here, that the welting goes up rather than across. It just looks cool and it's more comfortable on the hand. Okay, honestly, here are the big takeaways. So far, the glove is like performance-based, not necessarily comfort-based. It's not super comfortable, but it's not uncomfortable. So the leather itself is performing really well. The whole it being loose thing, I believe was honestly just from the laces. I'm not really worried about that. I mentioned it earlier, you'll see the hinges get really loose while the rest of the glove is staying nice and sturdy. But hey, let's go ahead and take some with our yellow friend right here. So I was going traditional with that one. Now we're working with like an 11-inch glove, 2 in the pinky. Honestly, the size of this glove is kind of throwing me off. I'm feeling it. I mean, I'm okay with the glove, But it's kind of one of those things, I didn't break it in. It's 11 inches, so it's hard to get like a really good feel for this thing. The leather is clearly very, very nice. Something he mentioned with this yellow one specifically was that he said, hey, take a few that are hit or thrown really, really hard. That's all he said. I'm assuming what his point is that it handles the heat really well. Like certain gloves just sting a lot more than others. Certain leather can handle impact better than others. So imagine like a flat piece of leather, and if you just dropped a ball on it, some leather will bounce more than others. And so ideally you would want it to just absorb the energy and not bounce at all. So Josh, let's just take a few that are simply hit harder. Okay, I already can tell what he's saying. So it does handle impact and like velocity pretty dang well. When the ball's hit really hard or thrown really hard, I'm feeling less of the impact and the snap on my hand. It basically feels a little bit more flawless, like there's just nothing happening. Okay, we're gonna talk about prices, and there's kind of a lot of numbers, so just listen up. From my understanding, this is the Japanese stock model. We're looking at $305 up to $435. The number one thing I can guarantee you is that the leather itself on these gloves really is like top of the line. You're not gonna get much better. If you've heard of Wagyu beef, that's what this stuff is. I mean, this is Wagyu leather. Yeah, no, it sounds like I was saying like, oh, it's the Wagyu of baseball. No, I'm serious, that actually is. So they're steer hide, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful leather. And let's talk about the comfort, because like I mentioned, they are less comfortable than your typical A2000 or Heart of the Hide. So our main companies here in the US, comfort is a big thing. We're kind of like weenies for some reason, and we want to feel comfortable. Everything should be soft and supple, and that's a good thing sometimes, but we do add extra weight when we do that. These gloves are not gonna do that. They're not gonna add the extra weight if it's not 100% necessary. How can we make the lightest and most performance-based glove as possible? But yes, it obviously needs to be somewhat comfortable. And then that's what you get right here. It's a super nice glove. Just to be clear, this is the Senku Sha. No clue if I'm saying that right, but this ranges from like $350 to $450. I don't want to hype it up and act like this is the craziest thing in the world, but this is probably the nicest leather I've ever gotten to use on a ball glove. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take some more ground balls in just a little bit, but ultimately, if you want the best performing glove possible and you're willing to kind of pay whatever you need to, I would consider this highly. It really is better than any of our typical US gloves. Let's just go ahead and take some more ground balls with this though, because I really am enjoying it. When a glove is this light, it's honestly making such a big difference. So normally, two in the pinky, your big advantage is you have like a lot more control, left, right, whatever. When a glove is this light, when I'm wearing it traditional, it feels just like two in the pinky. I feel like I can move wherever I need to. Big fan of that. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of show you guys how I broke this glove in. Very open. Our fingers, I didn't really try to roll them. They're sort of flat. Our index fingers, obviously a little bit more rolled just from impact and everything. And then I'm wearing the glove traditional. I should mention the fact that the more you use the glove, the more comfortable it's gonna get, just naturally. It's how leather works. But there's just not a ton of padding in there. In the end, these gloves aren't that much different. It's more like they prioritize different things than we do here in the US. But one thing that is really weird are Japanese catcher's mitts. So just check the video out if you haven't seen it already.